a group review weekly the next week.
I love it.
How to complete the assignment.
So we have.
Don't mean to interrupt, but are you assigning homework?
Yeah, hello.
I go by Board Will. My
What's up?
name's JJ Patel. I live in New Delhi.
Cool.
How are you?
What's up, Will? Thanks for joining. I also run another class as part of Origins, and we have homework every week in Solidity, learning how to program.
Oh, you're dev? You're dev?
Oh, a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. That's perfect, actually. I would love to participate in any classes you're doing.
We'll get here in time for NFT NYC. That's going to be the next event. I'm joking. I know that's tough.
Yeah, I would love to. I know about NFT NYC. I know all these projects like that. Then help me out. It's my dream to go.
Nice. I'm a dev, so my background is I'm the lead author of ERC 721, which is how NFTs get made. So I'm pretty OG in the NFT space, and I'm also a contributor to Solidity. So I help design the language that we use for smart contracts. One of the goals of this phone call is to improve the Solidity language. We don't have to focus on Solidity, but I just felt like it was an easy one. And then longer term, my goal on this project is to work for free for any open source project in this community that is easy to get started with. Some of the projects are hard to get started with. So if the project can be easy to get started with, our goal is to flood them like a flash mob and to help them. And so people will realize that if you make it easy for people to get involved, the flash mob will come. The end result will be everybody makes it easy to come, and then, we're solving world problems here.
Absolutely.
My background long ago was working at Google and Linux, creating open source communities and mentoring for open source projects. And now I'm involved with blockchain. Really glad to have you, Board Will.
Hey, do you guys even own any NFTs? I'm scoping your profiles. I don't see any.
So I'm special. I didn't buy NFTs for years because I speak a lot and I'm very neutral in this topic. So for years, I decided not to ever buy NFTs just because I'd have to make disclosures. And then a couple months ago, I decided that was stupid. That's not a feasible plan. So I do buy NFTs, but now I have to disclose all these things. So my account is on 4.net, which is in my profile. It's at the very bottom. I bought my first NFT last month. So
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Never too late.
Yeah, and for me, it's about a lot more than the artwork. So I'm involved in enterprise commercial applications. So
Enterprise, that means business, right?
we're in India working with drug companies to track the active pharmaceutical ingredients in the drugs.
Oh, wow. Okay, thank you for sharing.
Thanks. All right, glad to have you. So we got Digawen on the call. What's up, Digawen 0.0, or the eyeballs? We got I Love Farz on the call.
Handout.
Yo, what's up?
37.
What's up, 37?
Questions about contract.
I think he got rug pulled.
Maybe.
If I may ask, you sound like a very intelligent guy. I'm wondering, your background, education-wise, U.S. education is the gold standard. So I just wanted to know, how you went to school, where and stuff.
I went to school at Villanova University for engineering in Philly-ish, and then I went to Drexel University for business, and like an MBA and then an MS, a master's in finance. My background's in computer and electrical engineering. I've worked in engineering for a long time and also in the business side of engineering. Cool. I would like to, I don't know if I'm there yet, I might be. I want to make a Wikipedia profile. So I'm looking for somebody who's a good contributor on Wikipedia. I would like to do that this year. That's one of my goals.
Oh, wow. That would be really cool. Wikipedia is it builds a lot of credibility, I think. I learned a lot on Wikipedia.
If someone knows a good contributor, I'm looking to hire one for that project. And I'm looking for someone who does things the right way on Wikipedia.
What is the wrong way, example?
You have to disclose, if this is a paid assignment, you have to disclose that. The way that I operate is I actually just downloaded all of Wikipedia and I searched for everybody who's ever disclosed they were paid to work on Wikipedia. And then I cross-referenced that against the people that wrote biographies. So I have a list of everybody who's written a biography and that has disclosed it properly. And there's not a lot of those people. So I'm looking to hire, and there's only 3,000 people that are eligible.
Oh, wow.
Out of all the people that write Wikipedia, only 3,000 people I'm willing to hire.
Yeah. So, Will, I think we have 037 on Discord.
Oh, cool.
If you want to ask your question.
All right, thank you. Got it. So this is a type of a marketplace for developers, project makers, innovators to have projects, to describe the projects that they're working on, initiatives, and then to connect that with funding, participants, founders, and they want to fund these things, but it's hard to connect. This is called open source supply chain. XKCD has a great cartoon that illustrates this, and then Google and Microsoft are now funding a good amount of open source, and so this is a very relevant topic today. Let me run this back. So one of the main features here is that it's more like a Uniswap, where the Uniswap themselves, it's kind of decentralized in this way, where Uniswap can highlight some projects, some of the marketplaces, but anybody can load any damn project they want in there. Maybe lighter touch moderation, or not just about the moderation, but more about the focus. So while this project might focus on a specific thing, other projects can be funded. I'll tell you an extremely popular project for this type of marketplace that you're discussing is specifically focused on climate and carbon. And so that is a very popular place to start, but nobody said that you can't use that same exact technology to launch for carbon, but then be more open to other things as well. And obviously that doesn't need to be your focus. Secondly, a technical thing is some of the features inside this contract include using ERC20 to buy these NFTs directly from your dApp rather than through a third-party marketplace. So you want to have a first-party marketplace. So this is interesting, and this is a very common question for people making NFTs. They want to have control. They want to have a first-party marketplace, for sure. And then another question, another feature here is having royalties built in just like OpenSea. So this would be a first-party royalty payment. So the question here, summarizing, when you create a token project like this, NFT or fungible token, doesn't matter. The problem is that there's one creator that has full control over the minting. And so this is a risk for a few reasons. A, it is a technology risk. Somebody could hack this one account, bad news. B, it's a moral risk. There's too much project direction, the responsibility of a single entity. And three, I guess it's the same thing as there's not enough community involvement and decision-making. How do we solve this? This exact question has come up many times. The easiest solution is Gnosis. So Gnosis. So, Gnosis safe. There we go. There's other ones. This one just happens to be popular. So the way it works is you give all of the control to a smart contract called the Gnosis safe, keys to individuals. And then you as a team manage. You do 3 of 5, 4 of 7, whatever it is. And then you require a certain number of votes for every action. The thought is if you've got enough diversity from the voters, then this thing can be safe. That is one. Now, this approach assumes still that you have a managing board, so that you have somebody who is, quote, control, but the control is a committee rather than an individual. That's one way to do it. That's popular. So I'm working with a client, and they want to pay me using USDC, which is fine. And then they're like, okay, we're working on it. And so I can see they're using Gnosis. So I'm seeing like proposal created, pay will, lots of money, USDC. Vote 1, yes. Vote 2, yes. And he's like, oh, the people are sleeping in Australia or wherever. And it's like, vote 3, yes. So the votes come through and the USDC is transferred. So I can see that this was, a close relationship. Like this person picked up the phone. They're like, yo, we want to pay Will. And the other person was like, all right, cool. Like that happened right away. Compare that. Okay, so that's the easy way. The hard way is like ETH domains. Ethereum naming system also is a DAO. So they distributed a bunch of tokens, and then the same thing, there's a vote, there's delegates, people make decisions, and then those decisions are binding on the smart contract. So that is a very diverse decision-making pool. There's benefits, there's upsides and downsides. One of the downsides is it's harder. So for the smaller client, they wanted to pay me, they got me paid the next day. All they had to do is wake up a few people, they got the money out. For one of these larger groups like ENS, it's hard because you've got to get everybody on board, voting could take a month. You got to have a schedule of these votes. Another one is called Decred. Is a model. It's not a smart contract you can use on Ethereum, but it's a model you can study. Palladium. This is their voting system that's built into their blockchain. The blockchain is called Decred. This allows you to vote on different proposals raised by the community. And so these are just different models for how to make it. So you have a question about DAO, how to decentralize decision making. Those are the two answers I have for that question. Exactly. So the question here is, how do we give up control so that the creator of the contract is no more special than the participants in the community? And so same answer. The way you do that is that you give away the tokens. Now, typically there's a nice pie chart that's like, we did an airdrop, we gave away our tokens to everyone, but we kept 90% of them for ourselves. You don't need to do that. Your pie chart can be, we gave out the tokens and we kept nothing for ourselves. So that's a total feasible, it's compatible, it's what everybody's doing. You're just changing the parameters. Same model, different parameters. Yeah, so great question. So one way that it can be implemented, and this is a way that this client wanted, was to have the ERC 721 contract is where the commerce happens. So you tell the contract, I want to buy this. The vending machine is built into the NFT contract. This is the mechanism that's been used from the beginning. SuSquares is the first ERC 721. It uses this mechanism. A lot of people use it. The mint function, this function, that function. So the vend function, the airdrop function, it's all built into the NFT contract. So this is a good model. Now, when you're using NFTs with ERC20s, the problem is how do you spend the ERC20s? One way to do it, the way OpenSea does it, the way other people do it, is you have to authorize. So this requires two transactions. One, you have to have ERC20s, and then you authorize those 20s to the NFT contract. And the NFT contract goes and takes your tokens. This is exactly how OpenSea works. So if you make a bid using WETH or DAI or something like that, you have to authorize those tokens to spend them. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is some people don't like having two transactions. So they take on this risk, and what they do is they create a spender role. So the ERC20 implicitly allows the ERC 721 to spend tokens on behalf of anybody. And so there's a couple things. One, if you grant that role, if you are an admin, if you have God mode on that contract, basically you own everybody's tokens. People need to understand that you have that capability, and you might want to take off that cape at some. You might want to burn that cape. So you get everything set up, and then you burn the cape, and then everything's fine. All right. So basically, what you did is you gave yourself all the authority. You are delegating some of the authority, and then you added this little flimsy, like there's a red button, and you put this little cap over the red button, so you didn't hit it by accident by giving it to an individual instead of a smart contract. Yeah. No, your understanding is correct, and what we're describing is a fully centralized system. As long as the cape is alive, then that's a centralized system. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that that's what it is that you have. And to be clear, a big theme in this call is that there is no decentralized system. So there's just less centralized systems. People really forget about that. So you can burn the cape. There'll be some other cape somewhere else or some other magic wand. But you can, and obviously the way you solve this problem is you just transfer the God mode to, the zero address. ZeroXcert, which is the company that was the first implementation of ERC 721, and that was one of my clients, what they did is decentralize the company. So they burned all their own tokens. They burned their treasury. They burned a lot of stuff. They burned their magic access to things. And so you could verify. You could see them burning their own tokens. You can see the treasury disappearing, goes to zero. Like they did a lot of these things. It was an exercise in how do you achieve those things. Great question. So question is postmortem. So if you are anticipating, there's a vulnerability, you started getting hacked or something, where's the big red button for an NFT contract to jump ship? Where's the eject button? What do you do as for business continuity if you know that some or all of your tokens are at risk? Some contracts, as you know, have a pause function. CryptoKitties has it, others have it, which is a fully centralized red emergency eject button. And this is a very custom question per contract. So one of the questions is, when you do this, when you hit the big red eject button, is this something a smart contract is going to handle, or is a human going to handle this? Did somebody steal all the tokens? If so, are you going to recognize the new owner? Are you going to recognize the thief as the owner? Or are you going to recognize the person before the thief came as the owner? This is the exact question that Vitalik had when he decided to fork Ethereum. And I'm saying fork, but every upgrade of Ethereum is a fork, a hard fork. And he decided to undo a transaction for a lot of money. So it's the DAO. So this is a decision you'll be confronted with, hopefully never, but it's a decision. And so there's no case. It's very different when one of my clients had this exact question and somebody hacked a lot of high value tokens from their customers. And they're like, what do we do? So the first thing you do is you call me and try to wake me up. But every one of these has to be, evaluated individually. So luckily, it was a friend of my existing client, and I have a backlog for new clients, so I wasn't taking on any new clients, period. But it was my existing client was co-founder on this, so I did it, and I canceled my plans that week, right? So what happened was they had a lot of tokens stolen, but actually a lot of those tokens were given back. So this situation evolved very fast as they're planning their messaging. This is a big project. This is a 9-figure project. So they're working on their messaging. They're working on their engineering. They're working on their, crisis management. They're working on OPSEC at the same time as the target is moving. So imagine the difference between a lot of people got something stolen versus we recovered all the assets, but we're still vulnerable. Like totally different discussion, right? So this happened in the course of days, like within tens of hours. This moved from the former to the latter. So this is big. Second, I want to give you a concrete thing that you can take home. We have a specific feature of ERC 721 built for this. So I'll give you this one line of code that we buried in here for this reason. So there's a special cop-out sentence inside ERC 721, which is the NFT standard, and it allows you to do an upgrade. Now, this is a ninja sentence, so you really got to read it closely to understand the significance. The sentence is, it's part of the transfer function, the transfer logging, and this is how a smart contract notifies OpenSea, other people, that something has been minted or transferred. And the function says, any transfer. So this function, this event, it emits when ownership of any NFT changes from any mechanism, including creation, destruction, or any transfer. And here's the cop-out sentence. There's a special sentence. Exception. During contract creation, any number of NFTs may be created and assigned without emitting the transfer event. It was a magic sentence. Really important. What that means is if your contract is hacked and you need to deploy a new contract with thousands, tens of thousands of owners, and you need those tens of thousands of owners to be effective immediately, and you don't want to emit 10,000 events, this is how you do that. So this is a special thing that you can do. Now, somebody else, James, who's sometimes on this calls, what's up, James, has implemented this. We talked about this, and charo/archo NFT, charo.io, implemented this in something called Archo. They weren't hacked, but they implemented it so that when they created this NFT, they wanted to do I think they did the largest NFT airdrop. And they wanted all of the NFTs to be given out at once on Ethereum mainnet, which is expensive AF, right? So they wanted to give out all these NFTs at the same time. They didn't use this one, but they have another specific approach that they use that's very gas efficient. So I'm just saying there's a couple nuggets in there that will be helpful if you are hacked and you need to have a contingency plan. I don't have the answer for your question because this is case by case, but those are two nuggets I know that will be helpful to you.